This presentation is about rubrics. We looked at qualitative and quantitative data in earlier modules. Rubrics are a very helpful way to translate qualitative data into quantitative data for scores and grades. Like everything else, they must be carefully thought out and applied to collect the data that will be helpful for you to design and redesign instruction. Do not reinvent the wheel here. There are many rubrics that your colleagues have created that you can adjust with permission and use. So first, let's look at why we use rubrics. One of the most important reasons we use rubrics is to avoid confirmation bias, which is unfortunately a part of something we can all to some degree succumb to. Confirmation bias confirms your pre-existing beliefs. Much of the fake news we see today is based on confirmation bias. We can judge a learner without intending to based on classroom behavior, effort, and cultural differences, to name a few. Rubric can help us avoid confirmation bias, and other helpful strategies include blind grading, blocking names, and strategies such as that. At the bottom of this slide is a great example that I encourage you to explore. It is a lesson on teaching confirmation bias using the Beatles' Abbey Road picture and album songs. Another great reason to use rubrics is to avoid stereotypical threats. Just like confirmation bias, this is part of human nature even in open-minded individuals. Obvious examples are things like girls are bad at math and Asians are good at math. Psychological studies have shown that just mentioning stereotypes before an assessment can affect a student's results. Ways to avoid stereotyping include inclusive classrooms, valuing diversity, and talking about positive images before testing, using a prompt like, think of a time when you did really well on a test. I encourage you to read this short research article about why stereotyping widens the achievement gap. There are several types of rubrics: analytical, developmental, holistic, checklists. I've included a link here with more information if you'd like to see more details. Chances are you are using analytical rubrics or maybe even checklists. An analytical rubric is created as a table or a grid, uses a left-hand column as a criteria and the top row as levels of performance. They're useful for providing feedback on students' strengths and weaknesses, and the criteria can be weighted with more or less points to emphasize the importance of each element. It takes time to create a good analytical rubric, and both the levels of performance and the criteria and their weights take thought and experimentation to get the best results. Like most aspects of teaching, it's all about continuous improvement. Curriculum and assessment of that curriculum are always focused on adjustments to make it better. These are some of the questions you can reflect upon to review the student results of a rubric that you are using. This is what you'll see on the discussion module assignment. And finally, here are all the resources for this presentation. To make sure you can easily get to them, I'll also include them on a separate page in the module.